Hey, it's Jordan with TYT Network. I have the environmental celebrity of the day with me, Eva Resnick-Day, who approached Secretary Clinton, I think, fairly harmlessly at an event in New York last night. And Secretary Clinton essentially screamed at her and told her the Sanders campaign needs to stop lying. The video is I think almost at 1 million views, so congratulations. Yeah. Before we get into Hillary, talk to me about how you got involved with Greenpeace.
Yeah, absolutely. So I came to Greenpeace in the environmental movement because I see that climate change is an incredibly huge issue right now, and that we are teetering on this edge where if we don't take action now, people on the front lines all across the United States are going to go hungry because of droughts and are being pushed out of their homes by rising sea levels. So I came to Greenpeace knowing that we needed to tackle climate change now. But at the core of that is fixing our democracy first. So right now we have a system where money is so influential in our campaigns and in our political system that corporations are being heard louder than the people, and we need to reverse that. So that is why I'm working with Greenpeace. We launched a fixed democracy pledge with 20 organizations asking all presidential candidates, Clinton, the Republicans, and Sanders, to reject fossil fuel money in their campaigns. And for me, this election is incredibly important because for the first time, we are seeing candidates that are taking stances outside of what we are used to. And we're seeing people stand up. We're seeing people all across the country stand up and demand a democracy that works for people and not corporations.
Now, we both know what's going to happen going forward. So in the next debate, if they do debate, Secretary Clinton is pretty much going to deflect. She's going to say, Senator Sanders, will you turn back your 50,000, I think, he's taken from the fossil fuel and oil donations, and then point out that President Obama accepted money from those institutions, but he just created a great climate change accord. So in terms of Secretary Clinton's accountability, do you think kind of what she's saying, attacking the Sanders campaign, is on the level?
Here's what it comes down to. If a candidate wants to end fossil fuels, if they want to defeat the fossil fuel industry, as Clinton and Sanders have said, the first step to doing that is rejecting fossil fuel money. I don't care what candidate you are. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you're going to be serious about that claim, you need to reject fossil fuel money. So we can talk all day about the individual numbers, but I would be thrilled if Hillary Clinton came out today and said, going forward in the future, I will take this pledge to reject fossil fuel money, stand up to these companies that I don't think are good for America and our democracy, and really tackle climate change in the way that I have promised in my campaign and be a climate leader.
Since you approached her and asked her to reject this money, you pointed out that she's currently has lobbyists who are associated with the fossil fuel industry, helping bundle millions of dollars for her. Does that make you think that, okay, she's taking this money, but when she gets in, she's going to flip them the bird and, really go after this? Whereas Senator Sanders, you've seen in debates, he's comparing the climate change crisis to terrorism. So I'm not asking you to pick sides, but is part of why you approached her just kind of suspicion of, her true intentions?
Well, yeah, so over 57 registered oil, gas, and coal lobbyists have bundled over $1 million towards the Hillary campaign. And those lobbyists include lobbyists from ExxonMobil. So as she is going into the Department of Justice investigation of ExxonMobil, she's also taking money from their lobbyists. That also includes money from registered lobbyists from Enbridge, which had a huge hand in the Keystone XL pipeline, which she fought for as Secretary of State and then turned around in the election as climate activists came out and pushed her on the issue. So for me, that level of coziness makes me uncomfortable, and I want to have a president that's going to be accountable to the people and not donations. So if Hillary Clinton took this stand and rejected fossil fuel money today, we could all feel way more confident if she were in office that she would tackle climate change meaningfully.
expanding beyond just the Democratic race, you know, you watch like the media, and it's been this obsessive compulsive disorder following Donald Trump, Hillary's emails, but more so Donald Trump. You know, I used to work in cable news at Fox, at MSNBC. I could tell you segments on climate change are not sexy or not big ratings points. Do you think that there is a willing kind of ignoring or ignorance about that? This isn't like this. Obviously, it's not a debate. We won't even get into Republicans' thoughts. But in terms of you know, the media, even the candidates, Bernie's brought it up a lot, but you know, she hasn't. Do you think that there's just like a willing kind of a rejection of reality in terms of how serious this is?
I think that candidates will not talk about issues of climate change unless it's beneficial for them, unless they think it's something that the American people really care about and are thinking about deeply. So a lot of the work that I've done in conjunction with groups like 350 Action and Next Generation Climate and thousands of activists across the country is to actually follow her and Bernie along the campaign trail and the Republican candidates and make sure that they're hearing everywhere they are, at every rally, at every fundraiser, at every debate, from the people saying this is an issue that we care about and you can't ignore climate change because it's happening right now and our window to act is so small. So activists have been demanding that it is an issue that we're talking about on the national scale, and with quite a lot of success. I'm really excited that right now 2 presidential candidates were forced to talk about their fossil fuel contributions on a national scale, which is nothing that we've ever seen before. And I think that's a big part of the environmental movement and the climate activists coming out in force this campaign. If
you look at like income inequality as a topic, for example, it's obviously been going on. If you look at it, you know, Reagan, it started under Reagan. The chart shows the last 30, 40 years, it's exploded, but it really only like got into the vein with Occupy Wall Street and now the movement behind Senator Sanders. So obviously it takes a while, even though the facts show that something is a problem. What is places like Greenpeace, and what has to happen? Does like Florida have to be wiped out for, you know, people to the media, for candidates to wake up? What is the smoking gun that is going to bring this to the forefront?
Well, if I knew the exact answer to that, I don't know that we would be sitting here. But for me, I think that we need to be highlighting the stories of the people that are already living in the communities that are affected by climate change. There's research out there showing that 400,000 people are dying every year because of climate change already, from droughts, from being forced out of their homes with rising sea levels. And I think elevating those stories and showing that this is not something that's off in the future, but it's happening right now, and we need to be protecting those communities. And that starts by taking action to tackle climate change here in the U.S. And that starts by rejecting money from fossil fuel companies and rejecting the corporate influence that has stopped us from taking action for so many years.
I know, you know, there's so many stories, but can you, off the top of your head, is there any specific place?
Yeah, I mean, you saw what happened in the Philippines recently leading up to the climate talks. That was a huge. Ban Ki-moon came out, said, my people are devastated by this. We have to take action, and you can't ignore this. In the United States and other countries that have been huge contributors to climate change, on the Pacific Islanders in Australia. But even I was just down in Miami for the past Democratic debate, and even the Hillary.
I was there too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I guess we passed each other. Go ahead.
We must pass each other. Yeah, but even the Hillary supporters there came up to me about the work I was doing and said, I'm extremely concerned about the future of Miami being on a coast, and thank you for doing this work to get Clinton to take a stronger stance on climate, because I need that stronger stance for my children in the future. And they know the risks. They see them.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not like New Orleans has suddenly got state-of-the-art levees and things like that to avoid another Katrina.
Yeah, that was devastating. Sandy was devastating. So we can talk about other countries, but we're also seeing it here in the United States. And often those stories are talked about for, a few weeks, a few months, and then those communities are just left alone. And it's a huge environmental injustice I believe.
But there's also like, I have some anecdotal things that I want to
Yeah.
see what you think about.
Yeah.
Like I was walking with my sister-in-law a couple weeks ago in New York, and it was like, I think it was mid-February. It was like 60 degrees, and love her, but she was like, "Oh, this is amazing," and I'm like, "Well, we're probably all going to die at some point." Do you think like there's obviously the activists, people like you get it, but I meet a lot of uninformed people on the campaign trail. Is there a lot of people that are uninformed in part because of the media blackout on this?
Yeah, I think a lot of people need to hear more statistics about how this year is the hottest year on record, and we're seeing that over and over again, and really tying the weather we're seeing to climate change and to our carbon footprint. Yeah, I believe there's a ton more education that needs to be done for the American public, and that starts with the media actually paying attention to climate change and giving it the lip service that they're giving to Donald Trump and other parts of this election that maybe aren't as serious for the implications for the American people.
Great. Where can people find you, your organization, and what are the things they should watch for the rest of the campaign?
Absolutely. So Greenpeace.org is our organization. There's a beautiful orange button that says volunteer, get involved. My name's Eva Resnick-Day. I recently made a Twitter, and now I have quite the following on Facebook as well. But the big thing that's coming up is Democracy Awakening. So thousands and thousands of citizens are descending on DC from April 16th to April 18th to demand a democracy that works for the people, that overturns Citizens United, that is restoring the Voting Rights Act for everyone. And there will be massive action, teach-ins, and on Sunday there'll be a march, and that Monday, the 18th, there'll be a direct action that hopefully hundreds, maybe thousands will be partaking in. So I'll be there personally, and it's not just environmental groups there, it's a coalition with hundreds of other justice organizations, and realizing that all of our issues for justice overlap, and that the one thing we need to do is fix democracy for the people if we want to have a community that is just for everyone. And
a shameless TYT plug.
Yeah.
Our fearless leader, Cenk Uygur, is going to be there for Democracy Spring.
Nice.
Which is,
right beforehand.
On April 11th, which to my knowledge is very similar to Democracy Awakening. I hear rumors that there might be some shenanigans Cenk gets involved with, so we'll see. But awesome. We hope to talk to you more, not when you're a celebrity, but for some other things. And good luck in the rest of your cause.
Thanks for having me.